Quote, retreat by Sandor. One quote, one reflection, one thought that could bring a moment of light and energy to your day. Join me as we take a look at today's quote. The quote is by Charles A Lindbergh, born 1902, died 1974. It reads, "Life without risks is not worth living." Let's take a moment together to explore the messages within this quote. Here's something that'll blow your mind. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic Ocean for 33.5 hours straight without being able to see forward through his cockpit. That's like driving from New York to LA blindfolded, except you're suspended 10,000 feet in the air with nothing but ocean below.
That's absolutely incredible when you think about it. And this ties into his famous quote about how life without risks is not worth living. He wasn't just talking about physical danger, was he?
You know, that's what makes Lindbergh such a fascinating figure. The risk he took wasn't just about the physical challenge. He was pushing against what everyone thought was possible. Several pilots had already died attempting similar flights, and many people thought a solo Atlantic crossing simply couldn't be done.
Well, what I find really interesting is how methodical he was about the whole thing. He actually turned down a more expensive plane because he thought it was too heavy, right?
Exactly. He rejected a $25,000 aircraft that most people would have jumped at. Instead, he worked with a smaller company to design exactly what he needed: the Spirit of St. Louis. It was basically a flying fuel tank with wings, and he had to use a periscope to see forward because the fuel tank blocked his view.
That really shows how taking risks isn't about being reckless. It's about careful planning combined with the courage to trust your judgment.
And you know what's really fascinating? Lindbergh didn't stop taking risks after his famous flight. He completely switched fields and started working with Dr. Alexis Carrel on developing the perfusion pump, technology that helped make modern heart surgery possible.
That's such an unexpected turn, from aviation pioneer to medical innovator. What drove him to make such a dramatic change?
Well, I think it was partly driven by personal tragedy. After his son was kidnapped and murdered in 1932, he withdrew from public life. But instead of letting that defeat him, he channeled his energy into scientific research that could help save lives.
So he transformed his approach to risk-taking from physical courage to intellectual courage.
Exactly. And here's what makes his story so relevant today. When Lindbergh was born in 1902, powered flight was just a dream. By the time he died in 1974, we had put people on the moon. He didn't just witness that transformation. He helped make it possible through his willingness to take calculated risks.
That really puts our current challenges in perspective, doesn't it? Like, when we think about problems like climate change or advancing medical research.
Right. We might need some of that Lindbergh spirit of innovation. You know, that combination of careful preparation and bold action. But here's what I think is really important. Lindbergh's risks weren't just about personal glory. They were about pushing human progress forward.
Well, that's quite different from how we often think about risk-taking today, especially in our social media age, where it's all about personal achievement and looking good.
That's so true. We've created these comfort bubbles where algorithms suggest what we should watch, eat, and buy based on what we already know and like. But Lindbergh's message suggests that real growth and achievement requires to break out of those bubbles.
And maybe that's why his quote about risk remains so powerful. It's not just about the thrill of danger, it's about the responsibility we have to push boundaries and try to make things better.
You know what's really striking? When he took off from Roosevelt Field in Long Island, he knew there was a very real chance he wouldn't make it to Paris. But he also understood that sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all.
That's such a powerful way to look at it. His legacy isn't just about that one flight. It's about showing us how to approach challenges in our own lives.
And maybe that's the key takeaway here. When Lindbergh said, "Life without risks isn't worth living," he wasn't just talking about physical courage. He was talking about the courage to contribute something meaningful to the world, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. That's a message that feels more relevant than ever. With that, we conclude this exciting episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd appreciate a like and a comment. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you. Your support truly helps this channel grow. See you again tomorrow. Yours, Sandor.